I shouldn't allow fellow Gallic tribesmen to be harassed by foreigners, especially when they are one of my key trade partners. These people were valuable assets we needed to rescue. Dregenios and Aballos had mustered the largest army Northern Gaul has ever seen, all because the Iceni had invaded my lands. But as it was winter, we couldn't do anything. We were stuck in our quarters, knowing potential trade agreements and income was just outside of our reach. Though we did take the time to invest some of our already acquired wealth into improved livestock farms. When the snow finally melted and the dirt turned into mud and puddles, I gave the order to Dregenios and Aballos to attack. That is my duty as High King after all. But Aballos, the fool, didn't wait for Dregenios and struck with only half of our army. He might have won the battle, but the casualties were too high. Far too high. I knew I shouldn't have trusted someone to lead my armies, whom I never knew. Those men were true Nervii, pure bloods, taxpayers. This would be a major loss in our revenue. But on the other side though, this meant we didn't have to pay their salaries anymore. So it's not all bad. But out of the smokes from the last engagement, a second Iceni force appeared. Aballos, like the coward he was, withdrew behind Dregenios for protection. Luckily, I trust that man more than any other, but this would be a vital battle for the future of our trade federation. It appears the battle was a lot more tactical than most others. Both armies were cautious at the start, waiting for reinforcements. Hopefully Aballos could learn something here. One big battle line was made with minor differences, such as a few hidden units to the right. But once we actually spotted the enemy, we turned all our cavalry to our right while making a defensive wall with our left flank. But not soon after, the cavalry commander saw an opportunity to go for the enemy chariots, so they charged out. They lured the chariots back into an ambush by our hidden units. More and more men were eventually sent over there to assist the battle, taking out our naked swordsmen. This left that side undefended, meaning we had to move our army, buying time for our berserkers to arrive. But as soon as they were in position, our front line charged, leaving our left flank to guard the forest in case a few units were hiding there. We eventually came out on top, scoring us a great victory. Without giving an inch of ground, Dregenios did what Aballos could not. With all of my desire and hate, I hope Aballos gets humiliated by his men. A coward and fool like him shouldn't even be leading an army. But I fear my power as High King wouldn't be enough to get rid of him. Although it pains me, he had to stay in charge. Hopefully, it wouldn't come back to bite me in the ass. But the deed wasn't done just yet, as report arrived from Dregenios. As he was besieging Immersaholic in the liberation of the Gauls trapped inside, the Iceni gathered whatever troops they still had in our land to make a last stand against our forces. It is time for Dregenios the Stubborn to hold his ground and destroy the remaining part of the Britannic invasion force. The field was still red with blood from past battles. Dregenios had already formed up his line with Aballos arriving as reinforcements. Ugh, just reading this report makes me hate him. A few scouts were already sent out to locate the enemy. After a long ride hiding between the trees, they finally spotted the main force. They were heading straight for our front line. But they eventually realized our scouts were behind them. They sent out their chariots to find them, but our scout riders were experts in stealth. With the scout riders escaping, the Iceni moved forward once again. But before they were ready for a charge, our men rushed forward to engage the enemy. Of the enemy forces either routed or dead, the battle was over. Gallia was saved once again by Dregenios. Can you do anything but love that man? Once again, Dregenios proved his expertise in combat and tactics. With the Iceni forces scattered, he ordered a mass charge into the liberation of the former capital of the Atrebates. Any Brits who still walked in our lands would be hunted down and sold into slavery or killed where they stood. After the invasion was over, the former king, whose people we just saved, came to me asking for permission to reinstate his tribe to its former glory. I kept telling him about how that would be a bad idea, how they were safer under my protection. I even offered him a share in my wealth and lead an army of his own. I really needed to get rid of Aballos after all. But he kept insisting on getting his title and territory back. I took him for a walk into the wilderness. We traveled for a while till we reached the shore from where the Brits arrived and left. I gave him my last attempt to submit to my regime, but got denied once again. Furious and without a second thought, I pushed him into the water. I didn't have control of my hands. I could feel them shaking as they tried to hold him below the surface. I didn't expect this kind of reaction from myself. I'm a statesman, not a fighter, but it felt right. If he stayed alive, he could ruin everything. My grand plans. They must be the highest priority. I can feel my vision is growing. Italy. Wealth beyond measure, but heavily guarded. Is it just a thought, or maybe even a vision from the gods? No matter what, it must be a sign my deeds are righteous. Then I felt it. His grip around my hands as he tried to fight me off fainted. I walked away from the scene, leaving him in the ocean. Nature could deal with him as they'd like. But that is now all in the past, as I need to figure out what our next move should be.